Welcome to day 3 of Good Enough Lent, where we're offering adapted reflections from Kate Bowler and Jessica Richie's book. Day 3 is Mourning a Future Self. Oh, friend, if you were drawn to hear this particular entry today, perhaps you are in that place where grief is what makes the most sense to you right now. Because there is something that will now never be. There is an imagined future, something beautiful and dear to your heart, and it has dissolved before your eyes. What is it that you grieve? Perhaps your grief has a name. She is gone. He will never come back. The funeral is over, but the pain lingers. Perhaps you're grieving an event, an accident, an illness, a messy divorce. Maybe you're mourning a relationship that has come to an end with no possibility for forgiveness or reconciliation. Or perhaps you grieve for a marriage or relationship you still hope for and work for, but one that has painted you into a corner. Or is it someone close to you? Maybe you mourn for the relative with mental illness, a child who continues to struggle. Or maybe you lost an opportunity to do the right thing, to say what mattered. Or perhaps you couldn't say goodbye. I know that ache. It is a deep sadness that reverberates through our bones. We mourn not in general, but in particular. After all, love is in the details. It is, as Dr. Don Rosenstein says, the loss of an imagined future. He's a clinical psychiatrist who works in cancer center, and an unexpected form of grief emerged for him when his son was diagnosed on the autism spectrum. He had to grieve the loss of who he had imagined his son to be. He had to give up on the fantasy of a future where he and his son could hit tennis balls back and forth. Of course, his son is lovable and loved, but Don had to mourn his expectations and root around for a new dream of what it means to be the dad of his actual son, not the son he thought he might have. Loss requires us to reimagine hope. But before hope comes acknowledgement. Let us count not only on our blessings, but on our losses. That might sound negative to people accustomed to leaning on optimism, but there are good reasons for starting with a deep accounting of loss. Honesty allows us a moment to pause and take stock before we forge ahead. Acknowledging this will never be is the precursor to imagining what might happen next. Without it, we may inadvertently find ourselves trapped in what psychologists call identity foreclosure. As psychologist Adam Grant describes, we can get tunnel vision. We commit and recommit to a single vision of the future, shutting down any alternate plans and the ability to adjust. You wanted to be a parent, but infertility made it too difficult. You hoped for a long-term partner by this age, but they haven't come along. You were excited to help raise your grandkids, but then they moved away. We are forever being kept from an imagined future. And without honesty, we cannot first mourn that loss. When you cannot have the future you imagined, let the tears flow. Let yourself mourn. Pour out your grief in all its truth, with all your power, in whatever form it comes. With words or songs or talking with friends, with long walks or screaming into the void. Let it out. the whole of it, even though it hurts, and especially the honest, angry parts. Anger is our soul's sentry, put there to protect the boundaries and the vulnerabilities we carry. To everything there is a season, and a time for every purpose under heaven. Ecclesiastes 3, verse 1. There is a time to mourn. Let us take up as much space as it needs. Your future self can wait. A blessing for when you mourn what could have been. Blessed are you, friend, sitting among the shards of what could have been. It is broken now, that dream you loved, and it has spilled out all over the ground. Blessed are you, dear one, letting your eyes look around and remember all the hope your dream once contained, all the love, all the beauty. Blessed are you, telling your tears that they can flow, telling your anger that it can speak. Blessed are you when mourning is the holy work of the moment, for it speaks of what is real. Blessed are you letting this loss speak all its terrible truth to your soul. Blessed are we who mourn, saying, let us remain in grief's cold winter for as long as it takes, that mourning might be to our hearts the gentlest springtime. Let the thaw come slowly, so that we can bear the pain of it and find comfort at each release. Amen. A good enough step. Ritual helps us mark important transitions. I have a friend who, after her divorce, held a funeral for her marriage. Another person held a memorial for who she was before a traumatic brain injury left her changed. Maybe plan a funeral for something you are grieving, an imagined future or the death of what could have been. Set aside a time and place for your grief to be named and expressed. Write it down, its name, on a small card and set it out on a little table. Light a candle, wear black or a shirt that you can tear. Read a poem, play a song, or say a simple phrase like, "Oh light that once shone, you have departed. How I loved you, and how I miss you now that you are gone. I release you, and yet part of you will always be with me. Yet even as I hold the beauty of memory and the sadness of loss, I commit you now to the love that holds all.